Hey guys, so I'm going to go over the basics in terms of using our delivery planner. So if you look over here on the left-hand column, you are able to enter a date range. Now that date range can be up to 3 days. I did look at our events prior, and it does look like we have some events coming up on April 20th. So if I go and click on the calendar and click on the 20th, you will now see those events have been pulled over into the delivery planner as well as into the map up here. Now you have the option to show. So down here on the delivery planner, if you wanted something on there to be more prominent than others, we'll go ahead and click on events. It's going to highlight the event times. Now it doesn't get rid of the teardown times or the setup times. It just makes them less prominent. If you wanted to add other options such as teardowns, you can as well to see those. Next, you have the search bar that you can search on different presets or filters that we have. And then down here in the default start time, right now it is set to 5 a.m. as it reflects over here. But you can change that default start time to whatever time that would work best for you. And then over here on this bar up at the top, you are able to go into different times and days. In the past or as well in the future from the day that you're looking at, as well as you can zoom in and zoom out. And if you click on this view button, you can reset the zoom back to the default, or you have the option to fit all blocks. So that way it'll just show that day with the time frame of when those events will be occurring. So you look over here, you'll see pickup, staffed, and delivery. So those are going to be your delivery methods that you do offer. So with pickup, if you hover over the little icon next to it, a little message does appear. It just lets you know that in order for leads to show up in the pickup row, it does have to have pickup at warehouse enabled in the delivery method. If that is not enabled, it will not show up in this pickup row. So if you do have some customers that do have this option for pickup, it will show side by side in this row. If there were any pickup times that overlapped with each other, it would just create another row below. Now, also with that, you can click on those 3 lines and you can add a shift for pickup at the warehouse. So then that way someone would be there to help those customers pick those items up. So now moving into the staffed. So this is going to be where all of your fully staffed events are. If you notice, each of them have a letter next to them. Those letters correspond with the map that is above. So if you notice, the Joe wedding has a B. If I hover over that, it's going to highlight that B dot. Same with D, E, so on and so forth. Now, if you are wanting to go ahead and assign these events to a vehicle, all you'll go ahead and do is click on the event and drag it down to whichever vehicle you would like to use for this event. Now, if you'll notice in the red areas are the areas that you cannot place it. So if I go ahead and drop it in this vehicle 1, now vehicle 1 will be doing this staffed event. Now, the goal with assigning the leads to a vehicle, the main ones you want to tackle first are going to be your delivery ones. And then you'll want to do the setup and teardown times for your staffed events and then pickup. Now, if you are wanting to just move the setup and teardown times for the staffed events, all you'll have to do is click on those 3 lines, click on unlink, and then you can move those down. Now, you are unable to move them any further past this red line as it will interfere with the event. But if need be, if I place it right here in vehicle 1, if you needed to move it back for any reason, you are able to do so as well. And then that would be the same with the teardowns. You bring it down here. You can't move it any further left, but you can move it any further right. And now by just moving the setup and teardown times and leaving the event time up there is ideally you're just taking, you're not leaving the vehicle at the event. So now if you are wanting to set up staffing for this or adding a shift, you will go ahead and click on those 3 lines and click on add shift. And now the shift assigned will be right here below. Now you can make the shift longer or even shorter than the event time if needed, and same ways in the beginning as well. Now with the shifts, if you go ahead and click on those 3 lines, you have the option to see the details. So with the details, this is where you can select whichever worker that you are wanting to have for that shift, as well as any position. So for example, if you go ahead and click on driver, then you can select on what driver that you would want to take over this shift. Then you can also see the date range, and you can also edit the times in the details as well if you're wanting them to be less or more. And then it will show you their full shift hours, and then any notes down here below that you wanted to provide. And then you also, clicking back on those 3 lines, you can duplicate a shift if you needed to. You can duplicate it once or however many times, as well as you have the option to unlink this shift if need be. And now if you wanted to go ahead and move the whole block down here, we'll go ahead and move this down here. And then you have the option to move the setup and teardown times accordingly for whatever works best for you. Now with this setup, event time, and teardown time, you have many different options. So if we go ahead and click on these 3 lines right here, you have the options to access the lead. You are able to see the details. So with these details, you will be able to see these in the app, as well as you can adjust the start time and end times in here. It'll show you the duration and adding any notes, as well as you can add a shift for here as well. You can resize it. So if you're needing to make the setup time a little bit longer or even a little bit shorter, you can do that. However, you just can't do it going into the event time. You also have the chance to unlink it. You can also lock a block. So locking blocks, just meaning if I click on that, I'm unable to move this block. And no one else would be able to move it. The only times that you would be able to is if you go back into here and unlock the block, and then you should be able to move it wherever need be. Also, you have the option to move it to a vehicle. So if you didn't need it in vehicle 1, let's say you need it in vehicle 2, go ahead and click on vehicle 2, and it's going to move that down here. And then you also have the option to duplicate to a vehicle. So this would be for if you needed 2 vehicles for an event. We can duplicate this to vehicle 3, and now vehicle 2 and vehicle 3 will both be going to this. So now how I have mentioned that each of these have different options. Also, if you go over to staffed, click on those 3 lines, you can add a shift for this row if you're needing to, as well as you can lock all blocks on this row. You can do that for each of these rows if needed. And then going into delivery, clicking on those 3 lines, you have the option to lock all blocks on those rows as well. Now for the vehicles, if you go ahead and click on those 3 lines, you can add a shift specifically for that vehicle, as well as you can add an address block. Now what the address block can be used for, if you needed your person to stop at the warehouse to pick something up, or stop at, example, Home Depot to maybe pick up more sandbags to make sure that event could get set up properly, you can add those in here, and then you'll go ahead and click save. And now there are other options that you can do within vehicle as well. So you can lock all blocks in this vehicle. That just means there obviously can be no changes made. You also have the option for auto load. So with auto load, this would just auto load all of the events into that vehicle. Now it can push the times back up until 5 a.m. just to make sure that each event, everything is set up just in time for that. As well as you have the option for print vehicle. So if I go up here and click on save, and then go down here, we'll go ahead and print vehicle. So what you can go ahead and do is select on which items that you'd want to print. So there's directions, you can do vehicle packing list, you can even do packing list for deliveries. You can add whatever, and then also if you realize you don't need it, you can also remove it right here. And then you'll see those documents that you can preview before printing out. If you want to remove page breaks, you absolutely can. We have page breaks just installed to just be a cleaner look for you. Now, when you are ready to print, you're going to go ahead and click on this print button. You want to make sure you hit the print button in the software, not on the page. And now once you do go ahead and print those, we can go ahead and hop back into the delivery planner. Up here next to this save option, they're going to hit on this drop down. Now you can click on auto load. What auto load would do, it will auto load all of your events into vehicles. Now, if I go ahead and do that, you may notice that there are some events that did not get put into vehicles just as they overlap and they're unable to fit in those vehicles. You also have the option to clear all. So if I go ahead and clear all, it's going to take it back to square one with how it looked. And this does conclude the basics on our delivery planner.